Thank you for joining us for the Strathcona County Diversity Committee's Interfaith Harmony Week. We invited members of all religions and spiritual practices to share their thoughts and beliefs in relation to 7 questions. Over Interfaith Harmony Week, February 1st to 7th, 2021, we are shaping the responses we received by focusing on one question each day. Our hope is that through these presentations, we will all learn a bit about our neighbors. It is through knowing about and understanding the beliefs of others and how those beliefs guide their daily lives, and that we can build a community which is supportive and welcoming. The videos have not been edited. The beliefs and opinions expressed in them are solely those of the speakers and not necessarily those of other members of their faith community or of Strathcona County Diversity Committee. Today's topic is on symbols.
Well, greetings everyone. The topic or the question that we are going to discuss here today is, what is a symbol of your faith? What does it mean to you and signify to others? And the three of us are going to discuss this from the Christian tradition. Now, of course, our answers will likely be a little bit incomplete because it's a very broad tradition. I'm going to give one answer and Britt will give another, and then Adam will give us probably a bunch more. So I'm going to start with the one that is perhaps the most obvious one, quite often the most visible one if you drive around and see this on the top of church steeples and such, and that is the symbol of the cross. Christians will have different types of crosses. We often see just kind of a vertical and a horizontal one around here. There will be Orthodox crosses that are also common in the area around here that have a little different design. There'll be Celtic crosses that are beautiful to look at. Catholics will have crucifixes, but all of these in various ways obviously symbolize the person of Jesus and what we would say is being kind of the most spectacular event in his life, and the most momentous thing too, and that is the crucifixion, followed by the resurrection. And perhaps maybe I'll just say quickly that quite often the way that people have talked about the cross with the vertical and that horizontal kind of section is it's in the cross or in that vertical and that horizontal where you see the divine nature of Christ and his human nature kind of zeroed in together, and there's this reconciling work that happens vertically between us and God and between each other horizontally that is also perhaps symbolized there beautifully in this simple symbol of the cross. Much more could be said, but Britt, why don't you talk about another early church symbol actually yeah, go ahead. I won't steal your thunder.
Oh, no thunder here. I want to talk about the symbol of the fish. And it is a really early symbol of Christianity that developed, in my understanding, particularly when Christians had to go underground a bit, and the faith was under persecution. And they had to have a symbol that they could mark in various ways on safe doors that people could go into and stuff. And it became the fish, which comes out of a couple of different stories in the Bible about Jesus telling his followers that they would learn to fish for people. And so the fish became the symbol, and it sort of had a continuous presence throughout Christianity. I would probably see it as a symbol of our calling to be in the world, It can be interpreted in a variety of ways, but it's definitely been there. You've seen it often recently on license plates and bumper stickers, and there'll be the Christian fish, and then there'll be the Darwin evolutionary fish, and then there's the Star Trek fish, and there's like these little different fish battles going back and forth. But its roots really are in an era of persecution, when people needed to find a way to recognize that who they were in the faith together, without being too obvious about it. So that's where it comes from. Did I get that right? Okay,
I would concur with that, yeah. And I think just to speak, as Jeff said, there are so many other symbols depending on where you go in Christianity, the flavor and the expression that you identify at a given time. But Christianity is really rife with symbolism. I mean, the cross and the fish are probably the two oldest and most common that you'll find shared with all the different expressions of Christianity. But then within each individual tradition, you'll find other elements. Iconography is something that is very common within the Roman Catholic and the Eastern faith traditions, the Orthodox traditions, and this is the idea of depicting scenes from the Bible and characters from the Bible and the lives of the early church saints, and having those depicted in whether it's a mosaic or whether it's a piece of art, or whatever the case may be. And these become objects of devotion. They become objects of attention. I think one of the beautiful things, and it should be pointed out that different faith traditions within Christianity have different levels of comfort and even acceptance of those icons. We rented a church years ago from a group that did not believe in having any kind of visual representation of Bible events or Bible characters, because they saw it as a form of idolatry, even to the point of having pictures of Bible narratives were considered idolatrous, because and for them it was simply a matter of, we don't know what those people actually looked like, and we don't want to limit what those events could have been or what those people could have looked like to a particular interpretation. But there are others that are far more that's a more significant part of how they worship and what those roles of those icons play in their worship. I think what I have found over the years is that really what it comes down to is it gives us something to focus on. It gives us something a bit more tangible, and being created in God's image, with the creativity that we've been given and with the visual expressions that we have. I think it's a manifestation of that to one degree or another, the artistic, the desire to capture those things and to kind of give scope to them. Again, perhaps without necessarily limiting it to what those things are, but the idea of having something to focus on. We talked in another clip about even something as simple as a candle and light, and a candle being a very, again, a potent symbol within Christianity. And saying a prayer and lighting a candle and kind of just focusing on the flame and thinking about what that represents. The beauty of those symbols is that they kind of focus our thoughts. And Christianity is I think that's one of the beautiful things about it. It's not so ephemeral. It's not so kind of vague and broad that you kind of get lost in this kind of ether. There are some very tangible anchor things. And as you talked about with the cross, it's that idea of the divine and the human linking together. God is not strictly spirit, but God is not limited by the flesh. And so those symbols have much broader meaning and different meaning depending on who you talk to. You know, the fish wars come about because people take those symbols and apply different meanings. The cross means something different to Catholics with the crucifix of the body hanging on the cross than it would to the Orthodox Church with their cross that has the multiple cross beams, versus the Celtic cross with the ring around it, or even just the empty, bare Protestant cross that many of the Protestant churches use. So again, it expresses itself differently, but it's something that becomes an expression of what we believe and how we choose to identify. And then it becomes in turn something that we can focus in on and look to and say, what does this mean? And how does this help me better appreciate and understand God and what God is doing in my life? Mm-hmm. So whether it's the cross, the fish, the candle, icons, or whatever the case, just the idea that we recognize that interplay between the spiritual things and the physical things, and how those can both work together to ultimately draw us into a closer connection with the one who made us.
Excellent. Well, thanks for the two of you for contributing to this particular discussion.
Thank you.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. There is another question. What is a symbol of your faith? What does it mean to you and signify to others. You know, Ahmadiyya Muslim community has a flag, and in that flag we have sun, we have moon, and we have a minaret. And we believe that the founder of Islam, Hazrat Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, is a sun for whole mankind. And he prophesies for the latter days, the Messiah who will come, he will be the moon, and he will get light and guidance from his master, Hazrat Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. And minaret is also a sign of our faith. And there was a prophecy of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, that in the latter days when Messiah will come, he will come on the white minaret. There is a message behind. What's that message? The message is that he will be on the high moral and spiritual ground. And white means that his message will be peaceful. So, the founder of Ahmadiyya Muslim community gave the message to everyone to serve the humanity and for love and affection for everyone. I will quote few words of the founder of Ahmadiyya Muslim community, the Messiah for the latter days. He says, the principle to which we adhere is that we have kindness at heart for the whole of mankind. If anyone sees the house of a Hindu neighbor on fire and does not come forward to help extinguish the fire, most truly I declare that he does not belong to me. If any one of my followers, having seen someone attempting to murder a Christian, does not endeavor to save him, I most truly declare that he does not belong to us. He says, I proclaim to all Muslims, Christians, Hindus, and Aryas that I have no enemy in the world. I love mankind with the love that a compassionate mother has for her children, even more so. So this is the message through sun and moon and minaret, what we have in our faith, and this is we are spreading. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Tara Ballou, and I'm a member of the Baha'i community, and I've been asked to share just a little bit about some of the symbols of our faith. So we do have a couple little symbols, but by no means are these meant to be anything that we worship. They're just significant tokens that are helpful for us to explain some of the principles of our faith. So this first one here we refer to as the greatest name. And the greatest name in Arabic is Baha, which means glory. And in Arabic, each letter has a numerical significance. So B is B-A-H-A, those four letters add up to the number 9. And here in this calligraphy piece, in a very beautiful sort of symbolic way, those letters are in this symbol in the middle, B-A-H-A. But more important than that, the top line here signifies the world of God. The bottom line symbolizes all of creation and the world of humanity. The line in the middle signifies the station of the manifestations of God. And we refer to manifestations as what some may refer to as prophets. So all of the former leaders or prophets from the other faiths like Christianity and Buddhism and Islam and Judaism. And then there's the vertical line from the top to the bottom, and that represents the primal will or the Holy Spirit. And this proceeds from God through his manifestations to humanity. So basically that's God's will, and we are blessed to receive it through his manifestations at different stages in the evolution of humanity on this planet. And then on each side, you see two stars, and those represent what we call the twin manifestations, the Bab, whose name refers to as the gate, and Baha'u'llah, whose name is the glory of God, and he is the founder of the Baha'i faith. And the Bab was his forerunner. So that's what the two stars represent. And we use this oftentimes in ringstones and jewelry. I happen to be wearing one on my necklace. So you'll probably see this if you're looking for Baha'i jewelry. This also is a calligraphy version. It represents the same meaning, which is the greatest name, which is Ya Baha'u'llah Pa in Arabic. And again, it's in beautiful calligraphy. Okay, so here's just a pretty version of it that I liked, but again, there is no one, beautified version. You'll probably see it in many different forms, but the symbol in the middle is what we're referring to. So the number 9 is very significant in the Baha'i faith. So it's the highest single digit number, and it symbolizes completeness or fulfillment, and fulfillment of all expectations from prior religions. So we recognize Baha'u'llah as being the one that was referred to by all former faiths. So the return of Christ and the 9th Imam, the 12th Imam in Islam. So Baha'u'llah is the most recent of what we believe to be the 9 major religions of the world. And so again, the number 9 here is symbolic of the 9 major religions of the world. And here's just another version of it. So you can see many faiths being represented, from Islam and Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, Zoroastrian. So, and Baha'u'llah is the most recent bringing the Baha'i faith. And the other thing that the number 9 is often used in is that currently we have one house of worship or temple in each continent. So at the continental level, the one in North America happens to be outside Chicago, but they are now in the process of building others that are more for national, and eventually we'll have houses of worship in every small town. So we will have one here in Strathcona County. But what's interesting is that each of these houses of worship is a nonagon. So it has 9 entrances. And again, that symbolizes the 9 major religions of the world all coming together in one place of worship. So the Baha'i house of worship is not just for Baha'is. It's a place of unity, a place where everyone is welcome, whether you're of any religion or not, really. All of humanity is welcome to come and share in worshiping God. So this happens to be the one here, and then I'll just show you one more picture that I happen to like a lot, which is in New Delhi, India, and this is in the shape of a lotus temple, but it also has 9 entrances, again symbolizing the completion and unity of all of humanity. So hopefully that answers just a few little questions about some of the symbols of the Baha'i faith, and I'm happy to have you learn a little bit more. If you want to go on to Baha'i.org. Take care. Bye-bye.